Okay, so I'm sitting back for this one. If you haven't heard lately, there's this big buzz about is Vegas dying? Is Vegas dead? Uh, what's going on with Las Vegas? It's basically it's just dying, right? That's basically what the consensus is. So I've seen a plethora of videos of people supposedly knowing what they're talking about. Some do, some really don't, in my opinion. So I am now making this video to probably, hopefully, shed a little more light into what is affecting Sin City. And a little background about me. I have been living here since the early 90s. And so I've really seen the city explode from, I remember when like I used to live on the west side. Rainbow was the edge of town, literally, and they were barely building, like a few months after we moved here, they were barely building that Walmart on Spring Mountain in Rainbow. So that was the edge of town. There was like a 7-Eleven at the corner of no, was it Tropicana and Rainbow, and that was like it. And after that, there was nothing other than Spanish Wells. Okay, so I've been here for a while. I've worked in many positions all around town, in the casinos and off, and currently my latest job has been as a cab driver for the past 18 years. So I've seen it in all sorts of aspects. So I want to get started with what I've somehow boiled down to the 7 deadly sins that Vegas has committed, or not really committed, but the 7 reasons why I believe Vegas is in the situation that it is. So let's get right into it. So let me bring out my little notes here. Okay. So the very first one is no more boomers. So when I was growing up, I noticed there was a lot of wealthy people, a lot of, baby boomers coming in and enjoying Las Vegas. They loved it. They loved, I guess, because it was warm. I realized a lot of older people like the heat. Like to retire in warm places. Here it was fabulous. There was entertainment. There was gambling. There was the resorts, the golfing. It really attracted the boomers, and they had a lot of money. I remember there was a gentleman that not my father, but my father used to work for a company, and then the owner of that company had a friend, and he liked to come down to Vegas and splurge. I don't think he had any kids. I don't remember him mentioning any kids, but he had a lot of disposable income, extremely a lot of disposable income, and so he loved to come to Vegas many, many times a year and just dump all that money. And what I've realized from that point, from like when I was a kid to now, is that, well, a lot of them are gone, right? Either they've lost all their money or they're deceased. It's just that there's less of that generation that had a lot of disposable income to basically finance what had been an explosive time for Vegas, because it went from a small little town to what it is now. I think it's like quadruple, quintupled. I don't know exactly the stats, but the main thing is that this place has gone. So the first one is, unfortunately, there's no more boomers, and there's no other generation after them that had that kind of, financial backing to just pump it into this city. All right. It rolls right into the second one, which is the economy, stupid. So right now, well, actually, it all probably stemmed since the crisis in 2007, 2008, right? A lot of people lost a lot of money, the recession, the Great Recession or whatever it may be. And that kind of seemed to put Vegas on a trajectory where it started to decline. So that was it. And then fast forward to COVID, which just decimated the city as far as it really put into perspective people of what they were spending their money on or where their priorities were. A lot of people left. A lot of people went to do other things. It was a big, big revolution. So revolution, I mean like a revolution, like just chaos, right? So that started to hurt the city. And then once we came out of the city, once we came out of that situation with COVID, Now we're finding ourselves with this new economy with trade wars and tariffs and all these things. And now on top of this whole AI revolution, a lot of which we think were the wealthier type of the white collar jobs, all of a sudden they can't get any money, and that also ties into the younger people because back in a few years back they were really catering to the younger crowd with the pools, with the parties, with all with the dining, with the shopping, all these other things that weren't gambling. They started to go away from the gambling and into these other entertainment options, which is great. They're diversifying, but they kind of left the gambling behind and started to cater to the younger crowds with all the DJs and obviously the pool parties with the DJs. I mean, it started with rehab, and then everybody else wanted to get their own pool party going, and so it worked for a while. But now the younger generations that are, they've maxed all their credit cards. They probably went through COVID and they probably defaulted. They can't get as much credit anymore. They're having to finance their DoorDash burritos, $10, the $20 DoorDash burritos for 4 payments of $5. I mean, they don't have money, so you don't have the boomers. You don't have anybody to replace them, and the young kids are maxed out on their credit cards. Now we have this economy, AI going after probably the only people that actually have sufficient funds to have discretionary spending. So that's another big one. Now we're gonna roll into our third one, which is gambling, which I kind of mentioned a little bit. A lot of people would tell me, "Oh, it's Super Bowl. It's Super Bowl's coming up. You're probably gonna get a ton of people." And I would tell my guests or my fares, no, we're not gonna get anywhere near what we used to get. And the thing is, a lot of people for either Super Bowl or March Madness or anything that get actually gamble for, they don't have to come to Vegas anymore. Now with the proliferation of online gambling, with FanDuel and DraftKings and something else, so many people have access to gambling now to bet on all these sports. They don't have to come to a place where it's legal now, because it's legal everywhere. So that is a big hit. So I remember for March Madness, there used to be tons of people that would come in. For the Super Bowl, now those things are nothing. And speaking about sports, yeah, we've gotten Allegiant Stadium, we've gotten the Knights, and now we're getting the baseball teams. I've noticed that a lot of those people basically hit it and quit it. They come into town, they fly in, they go to the baseball game, and the same night they're out. They don't stay here to stay overnight. I'm sure some do, but the majority are just in and out, hit and quit. They don't gamble, they don't go to the shows or nothing. They're just here to support their team, and they're out. Now, do some stay? Yes, and I guess anything helps, right? But as far as that goes for the sports, sure, it's great for the sports teams or the sports venues, but for the city, it's probably not so much. Maybe that's why they've been very apprehensive to fund these projects, like for instance the ballpark or even the Allegiant Stadium, because they're like, we're not really getting much of a return on our money that we're just giving you with either, I guess, investing or tax forgiveness or whatever it may be, whatever incentive they want to get the stadiums here and the teams here. So that might be something just to think about. All right, so we're going to roll into the fourth one. And the fourth one is called Macau. So Macau, I don't know exactly how that came about to be, but all of a sudden you started noticing, they're like, where are all the Asian tourists? Where are all the Orientals? This place used to have these throngs of just Asian invasion, right? They Chinese, Japanese, Vietnamese, I don't know what all these people, they love to gamble. Oh my God. Chinese New Year's season or day, those weeks, massive influx of Asian people. coming in to gamble. I would always notice them. They'd ride in these little shuttles and they'd get out, and there was one guy with a little flag, and he'd drag them around all through the casinos, all through the strips, and they'd gamble. They kind of looked like those little hamsters from Zootopia, just very orderly, and then gamble, and then leave, all over the town. But then Macau just exploded. Wynn invested, MGM invested, everybody invested in Macau, and they built that place up. And then all of a sudden, these, Asian people, they don't have to fly half across the friggin' country, or no, the world, to gamble and to get this kind of experience. They can go there locally. It's basically like a mini Vegas, and it's their culture, it's their language, it's their people. It's with just the pizzazz of Vegas. Sands was there, MGM, Wynn, all these companies, investing in Macau. And I think the last thing I heard, Macau is thriving. They're doing great. I don't even know if they're building more casinos or whatever, because I know it's a small area. But that was another a nail, so to speak, in this coffin. Macau. All right, we're gonna go into the fifth reason, fifth sin, fifth cardinal sin, or whatever you want to call it. It's basically that Vegas lost its prestige. I think the Vegas to me was a premium experience, kind of like you would think going to, I don't know, Orlando for Disneyland, or even California. It was like these premium destinations that demanded a premium amount of money, of thinking, not only do I have to pay to get there, to stay in one of these fabulous resorts, I got money. I have money to spend to gamble. This place is not cheap. Yes, there were places where you could find value, but that's going to come at a later point. But basically, it was kind of like, a place where you wanted to show off, arrive in a really nice car. Kind of reminds me like of, what's that place called in Europe? Luxembourg or Monaco, or one of those places that are really fancy, that you have to arrive like in these really nice sports cars, right? Or here in Vegas, you would arrive in the limo, or in a Rolls Royce or something to that effect, and just the red carpet was rolled out for you. We're in the middle of nowhere, and yet this jewel of a property, of a resort, of this service, exists, right? And so all of a sudden, it seemed to have cheapened in a way that those things were no longer there for the people. So why would I come and spend all my money, whether they're rich or not, or they have the money? It's just that they want to get, I guess, their money's worth, as far as like, if I'm paying for a VIP experience, if I want to be treated like a king, I should still be treated like a king. And there's many resorts that still do that, right? Particularly, I would say probably the only one is Wynn, maybe Caesars, but everybody else started to like cheapen and started to just try and bring in this like middle class consumer. But the reality is that there's really no more middle class. It's kind of separating, it's evaporating in the center. So they ended up bringing in a lot of, let's just put it politely, less affluent people, and that started to cheapen up the atmosphere. And all of a sudden, because back in the day, you'd go to the strip and just people watch. Really nice people and well dressed and this and that. And all of a sudden, you're like, this place is turning to like city, or like it's getting very. Like, when did the Vegas whore out this way? It seems not appealing anymore. And you see the contrast, and you're like, what's going on? It's a mismatch of the people that they were trying to target in these latter years. I guess they were trying to go for, like, let's just get whomever we can get, just get them on a plane. Like, there was really promotions there, like, just get here and we'll give you the room for free. Or, get the room and we'll give you 4 days of free buffets. I remember they used to, like, thing was Harrah's. They get free buffets at all these properties, right? And it's just, you're attracting the wrong crowd that don't have money to spend, don't want to spend any money. and it just affects, I think, either the mood or just the other experience of the people that actually do want to spend money, have the money, and they want a little more VIP experience. So I think that was the fifth thing. It's Vegas has lost its prestige. It still has a lot of it, but not nowhere near where it used to be. Okay, so we're gonna go into the sixth one, which I have labeled here: no more real rewards or excitement. I'm not a gambler because I don't have the money to gamble, but also because I just use it for entertainment purposes. Whenever I'd go to a casino, I'd put $20 in, and I know it was just for entertainment, just to see the wheels spin, and maybe I got something, right? Now, my parents, on the other hand, they really did like to gamble, and back in the day, they had something really cool in that the higher, I think it's still in effect. I'm not too sure, but back in the day, if you play the higher denominations, the more that you would get back. Basically, the casino only could keep a percentage of what it was gambled. I think it was like 1% for like the people that played big dollar coins, which no longer occur. Which again, that's another reason, like that nostalgia of hearing the machines and the jingles and everything, the atmosphere, right? The excitement. I remember hearing the excitement. All of a sudden, oh my God, someone hit it big over there, and this excitement of like gambling, right? Like, oh, you could be next, right? I know it's an illusion or whatever, but people like to dream. People like to have that kind of aspirational, even though if it's just a fantasy, right? Again, it just goes to that. So I remember in the casinos there was these very simple machines. It was just 3 lines, and you try to get like 777s or whatever. But right on top of the machines, they either had a really nice luxury car, or they had a boat, or a motorcycle, or a cruise, some kind of big marquee prize that you could get if you always gambled 3/4, max bet on every spin. And so people would always tell you, don't just bet 1/4 or 2/4, bet 3, because you really want to go for those prizes. And if you don't, at least I think the minimum you should, or was recommended, was gambling 1/4, because that way, yeah, you'd get more of that back, right? Or you'd lose less, basically. Odds were of that. I remember a lot of the times they used to put up billboards, or not billboards, the marquee signs. Hey, such and such won 35,000 with a big old check, or this other person won 75,000. I remember even walking through Caesars and somebody hit like the Wheel of Fortune, and they'd bring out the big styrofoam check or whatever. It's like the excitement, and I don't see that anymore. Shoot, I don't even see the table games being exciting anymore. Maybe at certain places, but everyone is like, oh, I can't even play because the minimums are like $25. Where are the $5 tables? At least, so you could have more people, more sound, right? I think that's why a lot of people like to play the World Series of Poker, is because you walk into the World Series of Poker, or at least when I used to go there, you hear just a chips go back and forth, and the cards and this and that. That's the excitement of the people that they're there gambling. But now you go into a casino, it's so boring. It's just like they're just. And then the weird thing that happened. We went to Aria a little while ago for a restaurant, and I was like, okay, I'll play, because they didn't have our table. Well, I'll play $20 in the machine, and I would always get excited when I'd get like those super combos or whatever, and you go play the mini game. Way as far back as like 2004, 2005, when I would play Monopoly, and I get the mini game, and you play with the little trains and stuff. So it's me coming from a gaming background as far as like video gaming. I always found that entertaining. I always knew it wasn't to get rich or anything. Sometimes you could get away with a little bit of money, but we all knew that in the end they get their money back. Anyways, so that was the thing. I used to play a game that was Lord of the Rings, for Ghostbusters. There's all these cool machines that you'd get. Oh, Star Wars, you get the special feature. You click on the things. It's fun. It's exciting. It's just another form of entertainment. But now, I was sitting across that noodle place in Aria, and it would tell me, "Oh, if you want to, if you want to experience the bonus round or the feature, you can outright buy it." And I'm like, "What? You can outright buy it?" The whole thing of playing is because you're trying to, get that excitement of I won or I hit it or I got it against the odds. It was the challenge. I don't know how to explain it, but if I could just pay for it, like it ruins the hunt. It's like, I don't know. Imagine it like it's say, oh, you're gonna go hunt I don't know, some deer, and they cut out the part where you're hunting or tracking whatever, and they just bring a deer and just here, just shoot it in the face. Well, it's not the destination, it's the journey, right? So is that really what I want? And I was like, what is going on? And then the explosion of this is how they get you. I'm guessing you play, let's say you play 75 cents, but you're playing 75 lines. They're all a penny. So I'm guessing the percentage that the casino can keep is like, I don't know, 50%. I have no idea. But I imagine is way higher than if you spent the three quarters, right? The 75 cents, but just in three quarters because they're 25% denomination. But now you're playing a bajillion lines. They're all pennies, and you get nothing back. Really, there's no real rewards. There's no excitement. There's none of that. And Vegas has just lost it. And that goes into my seventh sin here, is that value. Like I mentioned recently in one of my points, even though Vegas was an expensive place and you could spend godly amounts of money. I remember Vegas Vacation. The guy, got rid of all his for his mortgage or his kids' college. That type of thing can happen. But basically, there was always places where you could find value and somehow get back at the house, right? Oh, it's fine. We're gonna go to the friggin' $5 buffet and just ravage the place, right? Or we're gonna go to like there used to be a place called the Westward Ho where you could get like 99 cents shrimp cocktails or 25 cents hot dogs, or somewhere where you could feel like, okay, we can get some of it back. Or, for instance, the buffets were a huge value. You're like, okay, yeah, I gambled my ass off, but I can spend $15 or $20 and go to a luxurious, buffet and get back at the house. So it's smoke and mirrors, whatever you want to call it, but at least you felt like you were getting value despite you spending so much money. You could go to the pool. You had access to these amenities. You had shows, that you could probably get comps to. Another thing, comps. Now to get comps is friggin' impossible. Now let's say you're gambling at a machine. They come around and they give you these teeny tiny glasses. You're like, I didn't order a shot. I just ordered a margarita. What happened to the regular sized drinks or the beers? Oh, would you like beer? They give you a beer, the whole beer. But now, no. Now it's like, here's your little sip. And you're like, where did the value go? What now? You're just feeling all the acidity from getting dinged from everywhere. You're getting dinged from the parking, dinged from the resort fees, dinged from this, dinged from that, and all of a sudden it turns you off. It's too much acidity. You're like, you know what? This is not fun. I have no desire to spend my money. I'm not incentivized to spend any money, even because there's no way for me to get back any value from my time or my money. So that's basically it. So I think I'm hoping that this was a little bit more of a wide respect of what has been affecting Vegas. Now, will Vegas survive? I'm pretty sure it will. What type of survival? I don't know. I think money will run out. I think, unfortunately, the economy and a lot of things they're like lagging. Right now we think we're fine, but there's a lot of negative stuff coming down the pipeline, which is going to sink us further down. And I don't think many people can really survive. It's particularly the people that one survive on tips, or being employed by the industry. Because I can only imagine they're gonna even shrink even more, and it might just be a fulfilling prophecy. One little point that I want to add is that Vegas thrives on. I guess we could be a bonus point. Thrived on conventions. Conventions were big business, not only because they have to fill the rooms, but okay, I'm going to put this contrast. A tourist, let's say, will get a taxi from the airport to the property. And once you get to the property, well, they basically just stay there, right? Maybe they move here and there, but they kind of like stay localized. For my business, a business person comes because they're going to a convention. They'll come to the airport, they'll go to the property, and then from the property, they'll have to go to the show, and then from the show, they go to lunch, and then they have to take another cab ride, and they go back to the show. Then at the end of the show, they go back to the property, and then they gotta wine and dine a customer and take him here, take him there, come back, and then rinse and repeat for 2, 3, 4 days, where the regular tourist doesn't do that, right? And they're spending money on, the shows, on dinners, on wining and dining their customers, showing off their wares, whatever it may be. Business really brought a lot of money, and these shows have been just decimated. You're looking at our biggest shows. We're like, let's say it was CES. CES was 150,000 plus. Now all of a sudden you're seeing like 50,000 for that same show. And so a thing I tell the people is that these shows take a lot of money to rent out the spaces and then build them up and hire all the people and brand new carpet that's going to be thrown away at the end of the show, the catering, all that stuff. And if you do this huge show and nobody comes, there's only next year be like, well, you know what? Maybe we might shrink it. And then you shrink it, and then the business people are like, should we go to the show? I don't know. Now it's smaller. Nah, let's not go. And then it becomes smaller, smaller, and it just becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like, why should I go to that show if nobody's going to attend? So I don't attend. So the show gets smaller and smaller and smaller until like, why even make the show in the first place? Let's just do it digitally. And the same thing happened with, like, for instance, for gaming, they had E3, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, well, we can do it cheaper. We can just do it digitally, straight to consumer. Why do we need all these other things? And so it started to shrink, and then everybody just bailed at the last show, and so it dies, it fizzles. And I think that's another point that, again, it's the economy. It's a lot of these things, right, that are affecting Vegas, is that these shows are a big driver of what is the economy of Las Vegas. And so it's looking grim. I'm going to be honest with you. It's looking grim. It doesn't look like it's going to be good. The economy needs to change. Businesses need to feel empowered to hire people, to do products, to do shows. And Vegas depends on that a lot. And then, obviously, if people have jobs and don't have to worry about tomorrow whether they're going to have a job, they don't have to worry about holding on to that money. And that just trickles everywhere. And that's the problem with money, that you just can't hold it, because once you hold it, you choke, you die. Money needs to flow. It just has to flow. You can't hold on to it. I mean, a certain amount for savings and retirement, whatever you want to go when I talk about it, but it needs to flow, because if I get a fare and they don't tip me, then when I go get a haircut, for instance, I don't have that money to tip. And it just goes round and round and round and round. Or I don't have that money to go to get myself a burrito. Now I have to look into just cooking at home, not eating outside, or not purchasing a new monitor. It just, money needs to flow. That's just the deal of it. And if anywhere, more so in Las Vegas. So basically, I hope I give you a little more of a deep dive of what I think is happening in Vegas. And unfortunately, I don't think it's going to get any better anytime soon. But I hope it does, or else it's gonna be sad when this place really does die. Thank you for watching.